Yes. All right, let's do it. Let's
maybe that's because I'm thinking so much about him.
Right. Well, I'll work it. We'll
make
now.
it work.
Where I'll ask the question. I'll let you just get through the whole thing, and we'll move on, and we'll see if we could get you internet that's not Prodigy. I'm not sure. Anyway, let's get to it. All right, Dolphins, give me what's your gut say. We got free agency right around the corner, March 12th. They can start talking to everybody on the 10th. So we're 3 days away from tampering starting, which pretty much has been going on since the combine. Is there a gut feeling on a player or two you think they're going to go after?
Yeah, several in my estimation. And yeah, Monday is really like the day when it all really starts, even though free agents can officially begin signing on Wednesday. So we saw like last year, Monday was the huge day when Christian Wilkins went to the Raiders and Rob Hunt went to the Panthers, et cetera. So, and the Dolphins brought in Jordan Brooks. So, I mean, I've got my eyes on first, I'm looking at the guards because I think that's most important aside from backup quarterback. But as far as starting positions, I'm looking at guards along with safety next, but guard as well. If they get Will Freeze out of the Colts, I think he'd be a great fit. But he'd be a little more pricey. So depends how far you're willing to go as far as spending on him. Now the Bradley Chubb pay cut, revised contract there helps you out a little bit. So does Teron Armstead going down to the minimum before he makes his decision. So all this gives you some flexibility along with maybe some restructures you can pull off if it came down to it. But he'd be there. I'd also consider James Daniels out of Pittsburgh. He's got the Achilles, but he'd be a good fit as far as an athletic guard who can move some people and pass protect. And but a little more economical choice that I'd be okay with is I've mentioned him here is Aaron Banks out of the 49ers. Mike McDaniel drafted him in 2021, his last year as offensive coordinator with San Francisco. So obviously he'd be a fit to the system running the same offense that they do with the 49ers. So those are a few guys I'd look at there. And then if I look at safety, then Jeremy Chin out of Washington would be a great selection. But I've mentioned Harrison Smith last year as far as like an older veteran player who maybe you could get on the cheap. I was hearing some things last year that he was trying to make his way to Miami, and maybe not. It didn't transpire. Jordan Poyer ended up being the selection as far as a cheap safety as a veteran that the Dolphins went with. So maybe a year later, something can brew there as far as just a more economical choice. And veteran presence brings leadership to the defense. So, and backup quarterback, I'll continue to say Jimmy Garoppolo would be my top choice.
Yeah.
And, we've heard some things about Marcus Mariota. I know you don't love the fit, but he might be in that mix as well.
I think it was just Sheffield. I think the rest of you have just on board. Like, oh, the Hawaii connection, this, that. He doesn't fit with the He doesn't have accuracy. I don't understand that. If you don't have accuracy and you're a guy that has a tendency to give up on a play pretty quickly, it's been his history throughout his career because he's actually a pretty good runner, but he's also very injury prone too. But for me, his lack of accuracy eliminates him from this offense. In other words, again, now we do have a stupid head coach. He had Skylar Thompson around him for 3 years and had no idea he couldn't play. He did sign Tyler Huntley and didn't change the offense for Tyler when he first started. Didn't alter it enough, which, again, just shows his lack of awareness. So maybe the Mariota thing is dumb enough to happen. You know what I'm saying? This is a season where I believe if you're Chris Grier, you're the front office, and you want to save your ass, you have to stop Mike McDaniel from screwing Mike McDaniel and everybody else in that building. You know what I'm saying? In other words, Grier has to make more of the personnel decisions and not cater to the coach. I think catering to this coach is the the most negative thing you can possibly do.
Yeah. You got to find some balance too, because you are still you're still shopping for the groceries for that chef and what he does. So they still have to be scheme fits, system fits. So there is some level of collaboration with the coach to make sure, the guy who's going to be running that offense can work with these players. So there's some balance, but I get what you're saying, because Mike McDaniel is not fit to be a GM, and that's the GM's job. Chris Greer's job is to make those responsible decisions on how to spend the money. And then, you listen to feedback from your head coach, but you also need to, if you will, be the adult in the room to make the both financially prudent decisions, and then also the ones that you feel, as you have the ultimate decision at the end of the day, are best for this roster that you are building.
Listen, I signed Gesicki for that 1-year deal, and you don't use him. I'm the general manager. Brother, every week I'm bringing you into the office and ripping you a new ass. And then I signed Jonnu Smith, and you're not using him for the first month after I watched them all in training camp and the preseason used in every way. And brother, I'm bringing you into the office and I'm ripping you an ass. And you keep playing Julian Hill every week and he keeps fucking it up, and I'm bringing you in the office and I'm ripping you an ass. And you don't change Tyler Huntley. And when you start him, you didn't adapt to his talent and change the offense to his talent. I'm bringing you in the office and I'm ripping you a new ass. And that's, I think, the problem here. There isn't enough ass ripping going on into Mike McDaniel, and maybe Chris Greer and company have been too nice. And so that's where, see, here's where I have Mike McDaniel eating in the kids' table. And I'm just saying, yo, buddy, just coach the goddamn team. I'm going to give you the talent. You need this, you need that. We needed another running back, and you didn't use Jalen Wright. And you kept using a guy that was fumbling, and you kept overusing Achane and risking his injury. I'm bringing you into the office and ripping you a new ass. And so my problem is I have so many. Brother, I can do this with Mike McDaniel for hours if I want. I have so many examples lined up. And that's where I think if you're the front office, because I know for a fact, not just front office, not just scouts, not just assistant coaches and employees, everybody scared shitless in that place. A lot of people don't believe in Mike McDaniel in that building. And so, since that sentiment is in that building, they all know he's not the guy, but they're stuck with him. So if you're stuck with him, you need to put the bib on, put his ass in the kids' table, and say, bro, just coach the team. First, learn how to coach and coach him right. We'll tell you what talent that belongs on this team. He's not good enough to even make a suggestion in my book.
Yeah. Well, all those things you laid out are fair concerns, Big O. I mean, really, like each one of them. The Jonnu Smith one was just so surprising to me early last season. Like, we were seeing him shine in training camp. I mean, every practice, and you were seeing all these different things. Like, he had it all implemented, all these different ways to get Jonnu Smith involved in the offense, but then it was just not there, not happening once you got to the games.
By the third week of the season, if I'm Chris Greer, I'm walking the hallway and Mike is crossing me, I just cock back and just hit him right across the jaw and knock his ass out and say, bitch, if I don't see Jonnu Smith on the field a lot, the next one is going to kick your ass right out of there. That's how pissed I would be that I would make the move for Jonnu Smith after the Gesicki one. I would be so livid with that guy. And what he did with Jalen Wright was unacceptable this year, bro. You know, and the lack of Chris Brooks the year before. And then I'm watching Chris Brooks run our guys over. Enough, bro. Enough. He's bad. He's bad.
Chris Brooks is another one we don't talk about enough. But Jesus, Big O, you would just punch the guy in the hallway. You would just go right past the LeBron shoulder bump.
If I was Chris Greer by week 3 last year, I would have knocked Mike McDaniel's ass out because I'm the GM. You're making me draft and pay for people, and you're not using them, you asshole. I would be livid. Livid. You're making me look like an asshole.
We're resorting to physical assault.
Yeah, I would.
We have resorted to physical assault. Big O chose violence.
I would knock his ass out to the moon. I would have done that because I'm the GM. I'm getting you your players, and you're not using them? What? What are we doing here? And so that's where I would be so I'm so pissed with that guy. It's just, whatever. But, and just talk to people in the building. Ask people in the building that you might know and ask them, do you really believe this guy's going to get you out of it? And when you corner some of these people, they'll tell you, yeah, we're not very confident. Yeah. So,
no, I mean, last season doesn't give you much reason to be confident. The only thing you could say is, well, if Tua doesn't get hurt for those 6 games, and that's a whole nother topic, is how he's got to protect himself and be smarter with his injuries and injury history, keeping his head safe. And then I thought it was just the head, and then he also hurts his hip, just trying to dive forward on a scramble, which you have so eloquently put it and stated how bad of a decision that was as well, schooling me on that one. Then, yeah, you could say, okay, well, the things could have gone differently last year, but at the end of the day, it was a fall off from that you were, 11-4 with a chance at the number 1 seed in 2023 with 2 weeks remaining, and you blow that game so badly in Baltimore. Not only that, you get Bradley Chubb injured by keeping him in the game once the score is well out of reach with 4 minutes remaining, and then you don't even have him at all in 2024 because of that. So it's just like bad decisions mounting onto the next season. And then, like the Jalen Phillips thing, which you've also been astute on, is how putting him back in there, you end up losing him for the whole season. And, hopefully now that they get them all back, but it's a big prove-it year. So once you have a season like that, I never see it where it's just such a sharp turnaround for you're getting your contract extensions and everything, and the organization is so high on you to just in the one season, it's all over. But I think after that one season where you have that downward trend, if it goes awry again, then that's where you really set it in stone that you have no future going with this. So for the Greer-McDaniel tandem, both as a tandem, because also Greer has to, if it's ass ripping, if it's getting into Mike McDaniel, if it's countering whatever decision is the one that he's pushing for and making the prudent one, then yeah, he's got to also do that too in building this roster. So yeah, it's both of them. And if this season goes awry, then I would just start clean at the top with the new GM, new coach. But hey, if they get back into the playoffs, then I'd have some refound confidence in them.
Yeah, you have no choice. I mean, unfortunately, I'm not the one that has a real problem with the front office decisions on the personnel side. I think overall you've done more than good enough on personnel that Flo should have maximized more on his last year, and Mike McDaniel should have maximized more in all 3 years. So especially this year, you should have won 3, 4, 5 more games. And I blame the coach, not the talent. But because you hired these coaches, they're going to end up taking the fall too at the same time, because that's just how it goes. Your job is not only talent, you have to hire the right coach too. And if you can't find the right coach, and and unfortunately, as much as I like Tua, he doesn't make good decisions with his body. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So it's crazy. By the way, I was pointing at this. You know why I was pointing?
Yeah, I can't see it.
You can't see it?
What does it say there?
Smudge Pot Brewing Company.
Okay.
So when you mentioned Jalen Phillips, this is his dad's place.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. No so when we were out in California in LA, We did the show at Jalen Phillips' dad's place, and there
Nice.
was like 400 Dolphin fans there, dude. It was freaking great. They got a really cool little brewing spot, and it was a lot of fun. A lot of fun. But anyway, getting back to pass rushers, you talked about Bradley Chubb. What'd you think of that move? Personally, I like the move because Chubb now has a year and a half of recovery, so he's going to be more than 100% now, and you didn't risk it, so you got a full recovery from him now. He hasn't played in the system, but at least he's kind of aware of it, being around for a year. And now this is a pass rusher you don't have to worry about in the offseason to add on to the team. And with the other guys now, you've got a decent collection, and he can make his money on incentives. So, I mean, we still have to see how the whole deal works out, but clearly they pushed up some money into incentives. I like the move, actually. I think it's a really smart move for them. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think it's a good happy medium between the opposite extremes of either just paying him outright what he was going to make after a season where he didn't play, and he's rehabbing it entirely over the course of the whole season, as opposed to the opposite extreme of releasing him post June 1 and getting all that $19.5 million that you would have had as cap relief to let him go. So you get sort of both sides. And then if you do get everything you would imagine out of Bradley Chubb, then he still gets his money out of incentives while you also have the cap relief to operate this offseason. So perfect marriage right in the middle there. It works. And then when I talked to Chubb at the end of last season, after he never was activated, he did have those 3 weeks, the 21-day practice window to get back into the swing of things, and just never really felt like he was his true football playing self. The key thing that he told me was that it's like a regular offseason now for him because of where he got himself back to through this rehab and trying to play. So it's not like last offseason where it was the whole offseason was rehabbing, and then into the season he's still rehabbing. He's on the PUP, and he's trying to get himself back. Once he starts practicing, I mean, when you have a year-long rehab and then you have 21 days of football practice, which you don't practice every day, but it's a 3-week window of 3 practices each week, really. So really like 9 practices that you get before you can say, all right, now I got to go back onto the football field against these gladiators and play this game. It's asking a lot. So now you get him with a full regular type of offseason, and we'll see what we get out of Bradley Chubb, who's still a guy who has not yet turned 30, and a guy who is a Pro Bowl caliber pass rusher when he's healthy. So we'll see how he comes off this knee injury. But if you have Chubb healthy, Jalen Phillips, and Chop Robinson developing, maybe Emmanuel Ogbah, he's a free agent. You bring him back, you make a decision there.
Yeah, I bring him back. He won't break the bank. I bring him back because he won't break the bank.
Yeah, so bring him back on a team-friendly minimum deal. Then you got a hell of a pass rush there on the edge.
Yeah.
You draft another guy too. You already still have Mo Camara as well that you're developing.
Right. He's a youngin, and hopefully that'll work out with Mo down the line. Maybe we'll see a little bit more of Mo this year too. What you think of the Good and Keon Smith tags, and Quentin Bell doesn't get tagged, so he becomes a free agent?
Yeah, that one just came down just minutes ago. Keon Smith, we've talked about him on this program, how, we like the kid. It was unfortunate that he had the knee injury during training camp preseason last year because you thought you had some potential, and he was actually starting to show some positional versatility. He was a tackle, and then he was starting at guard in that preseason game when he got hurt. So Dolphins need guards too. So bring him back and then see what you got in him. See how he comes off that knee injury, and see if he's still sort of on that upward trend that you had since. He was there since really the Flores, the last year of Flores. I remember my first year covering. He was a practice squad player on that team, and then Also, once the team transitioned to the McDaniel era, practice squad again. Finally, 2023, got to making the roster and got in as a backup sometimes with all that offensive line shuffling that happened that year with so many injuries. So, maybe you got something, and maybe you got a reserve who could then end up coming in and giving you some valuable reps whenever called upon. And Cameron Good, obviously missed most of last year, but a valued special teamer. He has brought himself to the point where he is a core special teams presence with how he covers punts and does other things on special teams units. So it certainly says a lot that as the team shifted special teams coordinators to Craig Ackerman now coming off the firing of Danny Crossman, that it speaks volumes that Ackerman also like Cameron Good, who can be another outside linebacker who can maybe play on the edge, as we mentioned all those names earlier.
Yeah. No, but just you just bring some happiness to the segment when you say the firing of Crossman. That was really, really nice. But, as for the Cameron Good thing, I'm glad they tagged him because I find him to be an intriguing talent. I really do. I think physically there's a lot of stuff there athletically that you're like, oh shit, man, if this kid can actually put it together, he actually might be a half decent player for you. And so the fact that he's made the transition already to special teams, don't ever overlook that. Sometimes there are guys that kind of build their careers a little slower than others, and they make that breakthrough on special teams at first before they become a positional impact type of person. So I'm not saying Cameron Good will be, but I will say this. His talent, it's not like he's limited. It's not like when I look at Larry Izzo or I look at a linebacker that is like a pure special teams linebacker, and you say, oh, yeah, no, I like that guy, but he's a special teamer. That's it. Cameron Good has the talent to be a every down linebacker. And that's the part that to me is kind of intriguing with him because athletically, bro, he looks the part.
Yeah, he does. There's stories like that. I remember last year, Jordan Poyer, obviously he had a bad season with the Dolphins, but the way he was a 7th-round pick, Cleveland or Philadelphia, then Cleveland, moving around the league. And then once he broke through as a starting safety, then he became an all-pro and Pro Bowler alongside Micah Hyde, who I think also had a similar trajectory into such a role. And there's a bunch of stories of guys who sort of rose to true starting caliber play in that same way. So actually, one guy kind of rooting for because he's such a great guy is Elijah Campbell, who is a free agent for the Dolphins as a safety. And I spoke to him at the end of the season, and he said he wants to be a starting safety now in this league. And he's been known as a special team or quality special team player for the Dolphins, and has been in some safety reps when needed, but hasn't gotten big reps. So he'll obviously have to compete for any job if it's going and finding his happiness elsewhere in free agency, or if the Dolphins do try to bring him back and see what they can do with him on the back end. But who knows? Maybe he has like a Cameron Good could possibly go that route. Maybe he can too, and just find a niche as a defender as well, on top of just that special teams presence he brings.
Follow him on Twitter at David Furones _. What do you got going on there in the Sun Sentinel so folks can check you out, my friends?
Yeah, this weekend previewing free agency for the Miami Dolphins from the team's perspective. So everything you should be looking out for as things get rolling on Monday.
All right, good stuff as always, David. Appreciate you, my brother. We will catch up on Tuesday. Have a fantastic weekend, my friend. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Got it. All right. Welt Rheaume, Jeff Welt and Daniel Rheaume, they know how to get it done. I've been telling you this for several years now. A bunch of our listeners have experienced it, and they're all better off because they have won cases for them. They've won cases for me. 954-966-4646, bankruptcy, personal injury, homeowner property damage, commercial litigation, condo damage, business owner claims, criminal defense. They do it all, man. WRFLAlaw.com is the website. Call Jeff Welt and Daniel Rheaume, 954-966-4646. You may not need it now, but if you need it down the line, the consultation's free. Have the number by your side. God forbid an accident happens and you need something, storm happens, and they send over their adjusters right away. Remember, these insurance companies, their adjusters, they work for the insurance company. They don't work for you, okay? So make sure you call Jeff and Dan. They will send their adjusters who are going to work for your best interest and get you the most money available. And as you all know, or if you didn't know, the new laws that were passed by DeSantis favor the corporations, not us. So the most important thing you do is hire the best lawyers possible. Nobody better than Jeff Welt and Daniel Rheaume.
This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.